Hi everyone and welcome back to the September WARNO tournament from SD League. Obviously we're in October now, but I just thought I'd catch up on a game or two at the end of that tournament. So today we have Crpr on the right in blue playing as the 8th Infantry against Phoenix playing as the 5th Division, the French Division. Obviously we can see a lot of AMX-10s coming up here. These are Recon AMX-10s. We've got the Mirages in as well right now. There's quite a lot of aircraft early game. Fighting Falcon from the other side as well. Lots of units coming in down here. Phoenix being very aggressive here, pushing straight across the middle and appearing to go straight for Delta. Chaparral's in as well for Crpr. Probably a good thing with the amount of aircraft that they're in right now. There's another Mirage coming in as well. Non-stop right now. A lot of money gone on aircraft here. Obviously, this is in the previous patch. I'm using this, or watching it in a special viewer that you can watch old replays in. Looks like Phoenix came out on top there. He has a lot of stuff pushing here as well. A couple of M60s will be useful for Crpr, trying to do some damage to the AMX-10s. AMX-10s are a bit much still, in my opinion. I mean, they have a heck of a damage output. AP value of 17 for a small recon vehicle. Coming in at 90 points. They are very effective. You can bring a lot of them out at the start of a game, as is noted here. Engineers and things up at the top there for Crpr. He is getting Super Puma around the back there with commandos, and one down here as well. He's dropped those commandos off. Could be used to either get in here and kill a command or indeed block off reinforcements down this road. Here I imagine these ones are going to try and kill this CV since they've spotted it. At least I'm assuming they've spotted it. If they hadn't before, I'm sure they have now. Cobra coming in there. Couple of anti-air choppers up there. This Super Puma is escaping the map. Will be sold, I'm sure. It's going to drop off there. So he's going to use them to kill reinforcements that are coming in, or commands, as the case may be. Jäger Aufkel holding on for dear life in this building here. But unfortunately, Crpr struggling in the centre here. It is a difficult thing to withstand, the AMX-10 push. It's very effective in this patch that we're watching this match on currently. Obviously the game is still undergoing balancing, so I'm not overly concerned about it. It is what it is at the moment. Cobra coming in here doing some damage, but also getting shot up by plenty of machine gun fire. Mirage also coming in to do the job of finishing it off. Chaparral getting some good shots off of that Mirage though, and has killed it. Very nicely done by the Chaparral. Chaparral out of missiles there, and only one missile left there. Does need rearming at some point. Commandos here will be able to take out vehicles that come along the road here. Obviously Ihawk at great risk. Command coming in there for Phoenix. Nothing for the bottom as yet. Still in a very good position here is Phoenix, and obviously controlling the majority of the center. Now I will show both games back to back, as they are fairly short games. I can't tell you who's winning them because I haven't looked. But I do feel as though Crpr is in a bad position. Those AMX-10s just doing an amazing job at the start there. And obviously the recon teams down here doing a fantastic job at just encircling this point. And these Jäger Aufkel hanging on for dear life, but there's only one unit left now. Nice use of jets by both players in this game. Falcon getting a kill there as well. Engineers flash pushing around the top here, and those two anti-air choppers. Mirage is back in now though. That fighting Falcon needs to get out. Those commandos are dead, but they have done some damage. They certainly killed the Ihawk. And that was the loss of the F-16 as well. Lots of Mirages in now. Wondering where these choppers are going. They are purely anti-air. Mirage is currently having free reign. Obviously have spotted that chopper there, so we'll engage it. Will not survive, I don't think. Oh. That one seemed to go for it, but didn't open fire. That one also seemed to go for it, but didn't open... Oh, it's because it's landed. Or it's hovering very... No, it's just hovering very low. It hasn't even landed. That's interesting. I'm surprised it didn't still fire at it. That was very strange. Can't explain that one, I'm afraid. Plenty of dragons coming in here. They will be very useful against any vehicles and fire teams coming in, which will hopefully be useful against the infantry. Obviously, at the moment, as it stands, CRPR did have a command in early, but it is now neutralized, and realistically, Phoenix controls most of the map. Poor CRPR. Oh, and there goes that chopper. It has been killed finally. Some more tanks coming in here. Lots of infantry coming in here. It's possible that he can secure Charlie. If he's lucky, he could secure Charlie and then potentially push back out. But obviously calling in a chaparral all the way up the front there, very risky. There are a lot of units up here. Obviously, CRPR doesn't realise that. He doesn't know where the units are. We can see what he can't. But as it stands, there's obviously a lot more on the map for Phoenix. He's killed a lot more. CRPR would need to be able to sort of defend and hold and kill some of this force to be able to then push out. Sort of pick it off bit by bit. Unfortunately, his units are getting caught out in the open because he didn't realise how far forward Phoenix has pushed. Chopper swinging around the back now, but obviously no effect against the ground forces. Can be used for scouting, though. More AMX-10s coming in. So many AMX-10s. I mean, they don't have a lot of armor. They're sort of like a glass cannon, so very, very high weapon damage. They are kinetic, so, you know, effective against tanks at close range as well. They do seem to be very good in a lot of situations. A couple more tow cobras coming in there for CRPR. Not a bad choice against all of these AMX-10s and the AMX-30s that's in now as well. Unfortunately, there are still a lot of aircraft available to Phoenix. Chaparral is being pulled back, realizing that it can't go further forward. These two tanks forcing Phoenix back. That was a Mirage coming in and killing one of those anti-air choppers. Tow Cobras do have rockets, they do have ITOs, and they do have a cannon. They are useful against everything. However, I fear they will be at significant risk from all of these aircraft. Yeah, that one's dead. This one is probably going to go as well. Another Fighting Falcon in, though. One of those jets is down. Falcon is going to take fire from this Mirage. And the Mirage swinging around. Oh, wow. Another Mirage and a Mirage cluster coming in. That is a lot. That is a lot of stuff. Both those tanks, unfortunately, from CRPR's side, dead now. I'm afraid I think that Phoenix has won this one. Really effective push at the start there with the AMX-10s, and the recon infantry down here did a really good job as well. How much are those things? Not that expensive, 50 points are only 4-man squads. Certainly did the job they needed to do. Cluster bomber coming in here, going for that chaparral. Literally just the command left in that point now. Just under 30 minutes left of this match, but I think it's probably already over. Commiseration, CRPR. Congratulations, Phoenix. That was a very effective push with those AMX-10s at the start. And also, all of the aircraft you've pulled out, very, very effective. Obviously, CRPR called in a lot of choppers, which are quite at risk from all of those aircraft. Choppers obviously very good against what's on the ground, but unfortunately very weak to all of those jets. Engineer's flash coming in here now will be useful for trying to defend this city. Straight away, Mirage in. Chopper down. And the second one. Oh, very effective early game map control from Phoenix there. Obviously rushing forward, pushing till he met resistance. Obviously that is one of the main things to do. Some people will not push into points. I think last week I had a similar situation in the multiplayer game I was playing on my Wargame Wednesday when we played WARNO, and the opponent in front of me hadn't pushed into their second point in the center of the map, and I was able just to go straight into it without any resistance. And sometimes you're just sort of waiting for that. Obviously Phoenix got in here as CRPR was just arriving there as well. And unfortunately, CRPR had just less forces there and became a little bit overwhelmed. CRPR doing a little bit of pushback here. He still has his CV in that point. Loads of CVs now arriving in other points for Phoenix, though, so he will cap all of those very shortly. That Fighting Falcon, very lucky there. Did you see how many missiles went for it? Oh. Didn't dodge that one, but got a kill out of it. Wow. You know, all things considered, I think it got very lucky and did very well there, that Fighting Falcon. And there's the command loss for CRPR. Now +7 to Phoenix. And there's the surrender. Commiseration, CRPR. Obviously a significant difference in kills to losses. Phoenix just maintained that control from the get-go of that game. Let's hop straight into the second game and see who comes out there. Welcome back to our second game. So, once again, CRPR is on blue, but on the left this time. I'm playing as the 82nd Airborne Division. Not a division we've seen very much this tournament, really. And then over on the right, we have Phoenix playing as the KDA Erfurt. With a huge spam of stuff coming down the bottom here. What is all of that? Oh, it's the VPBs. If you remember those, they are the extremely cheap infantry groups. 15 points. They're 6-man squads, and they have these little SMG guns. Just recon choppers all across the middle there. Lots of aircraft in. Look at all those MiG-21 HE bombers in. This is a air spam fest, to say the least, from Phoenix. He's going to bomb everything on the front lines that he finds with those choppers. Very effective option. Obviously, these are pretty cheap. 125 points. There's an F-15C Eagle in, but there is also a MiG-23 in there. Obviously, the ground forces are just these. It's all these VPBs. I mean, Phoenix's entire game rests on these bombers taking out as much of the front line as possible. Command is already in for CRPR, getting those points in really early this game. But obviously, all of these will be a huge problem. But can you imagine a nice bombing strike on all of those vehicles? They would be absolutely decimated. But obviously, poor CRPR doesn't have recon there, doesn't realise that they're coming. And they're going to be on top of him and doing a lot of damage. He will get a couple of kills, but there's so many of them. Look at them all getting out and engaging now. So much damage. There they are, dead immediately. Obviously airborne, very useful, but... oh wow, they're not dead. I think Were they still alive in there? I think they're actually alive in the building. Oh no, they're definitely not now. I thought I saw them flash up for a second still. Obviously, the VPB is spreading out very rapidly. Now, loads more units being called in. We've got the SPG-9s. We've got more recon choppers coming out to do the same again, I imagine. Used as bomber spotters. So they will spot for bombing targets. That is an interesting tactic, I will say that much. Loads more anti-air coming in. Those Vulcan cannons for CRPR. Apache coming in down here to try and do some damage to all of these infantry. But Airborne just being somewhat overwhelmed at the end of the day by all of these VPB squads. Very effective idea. I really wish Pua CRPR had a bomber or something he could respond here with. Loads more infantry being called in all the way across the centre here. Obviously, the KDA have a lot of very cheap infantry that they can call in. MiG-23 coming in against that Apache. Apache is going to get killed. Probably. Oh, just stunned, but it will come back for a second pass, I'm sure. And obviously the chopper is going to potentially get very close to these guys so they can fire at it. Yeah, there it goes. It's getting shot at by the ground troops now. Mortars being used against these infantry effectively, but they are pushing up here. SPG-9's arriving now. Very interesting opening from Phoenix. Lots of aircraft, lots of bombing of front lines. Loads of Motsuchin coming in here. How much are these airborne? You see, it has me wondering. 60 points apiece. I'm wondering what the cheapest infantry available to CRPR is in his deck. Obviously, all decks are different, so some people don't bring cheap options. Some people just bring the expensive stuff. It varies. Here come the Mi-2s again, I assume prepping for bombers being called in. No anti-air here. F-15 Sea Eagle, sorry, I was going to call it an F-16, being utilised to take out one of those choppers again, but here come the mass spam of the HE bombers once more. 125 points. Yeah, just annihilating the front line, completely annihilating the front line of Pua CRPR. Well, it has been said by Protoss that in the latest patches, air has had a buff again, so it's going to be my job to call for another nerf on the aircraft, probably. I got an air nerf patch once before. We'll see if we can do it again, if it becomes a significant issue. We'll see how it plays out over the next month in the tournament. If we're seeing a huge amount of aircraft being brought out, then we know something has to change, but I can't say that from just this one game. I mean, the MiG-21s aren't the be-all and end-all, and he's lost a lot of them here to these Eagles. And obviously the ground anti-air as well. I mean, this one should die, surely. One of these Eagles should get a shot. And he's going to evac, I think. Very lucky it got out of there without being killed by that Vulcan cannon, to be honest. Once again, unfortunately for CRPR, due to that mass bomber spam, he's lost his front line, and obviously in the meantime, it is the case that lots of units have been brought in by Phoenix, and he probably is going to overwhelm CRPR's front line in the centre here. Heavy Hogs being brought in, good choice in terms of having quite a few rockets. The issue is with all of the Western choppers, they have very few rockets compared to the other side. So obviously all of the Russian stuff and the packed gear, they tend to have 30 rockets, 50 rockets per pod, etc, etc, etc. Whereas obviously you can see here 8 rockets per pod. Obviously they're big rockets, but they're just not as effective. The same can be said for some of the aircraft as well. if you play DCS and you load up the standard SU-25 that you get for free, then that can have a lot of rocket pods with a lot of rockets. If you load up the A10 that you get in Flaming Cliffs, that has a lot less rockets per rocket pod. MiG-23 coming in to take out these heavy hogs. I don't know if those... Yeah, I was going to say the Eagles are available coming in to take that out. And has killed it. Those F-15Cs are expensive, but they are good. They are doing their job. Lots of commands now coming in for Phoenix, though. He is in control of Charlie. There is a command in the center point for CRPR, of course. CRPR still hasn't managed to regain this position here. His airborne are stuck back here. He needs to be a little bit more aggressive, perhaps, in getting his airborne up to engage these VPBs. I think he has the potential to take this back. I mean, the VPBs, they're six-man squads. They're kind of weak, but there are Motsuchin coming in for reinforcements now. So it will actually be difficult now to push in because the Motsuchin are arriving. Obviously, complete control of this point, heading rapidly towards belonging to Phoenix. And Phoenix doesn't leave any units behind in defense. He just moves his entire line forward. All of those SPGs that were sat back here, everything is just moving forward in one sweeping motion. But commands in for every point now for Phoenix. He's going to cap Golf Delta and he will neutralize Bravo. He's going to cap Bravo because he's actually just killed poor CRPR's command that was in there. Aero rifles in here again, 55 points. Military police, which are a little bit cheaper at 40 points. They are the anti-vehicle variant though. Phoenix is just keeping moving though. It's a good tactic. If you just keep your forces moving, it's very hard to be hit by artillery. It's very hard to be hit by mortars. You just keep moving, moving, moving. Commanding all these points now for Phoenix. Currently he is +5. He's about to go up to +7. And it's possible he will push into the edge of Echo and bring a command in immediately to neutralize that and push it up to +9. Reinforcements, lots of airborne coming in. Good choice. Try and hold the line in this town. But once more, Phoenix with a very solid line across the entire map. That early bomber spam, just very, very effective. And the VPBs down here, obviously, were able to take on basically one squad of infantry at a time in at first one large group, and then two slightly smaller groups, but nonetheless just an overwhelming force, especially when they get up close and personal with these little SMGs, because the closer you get with SMGs, the more damage they do. There is a damage modifier that isn't shown on the unit card. MiG-21 HE bomber coming in here, obviously going to hit some of these guys in the middle, I assume. Can go in with a strafing run, but is actually using the bombing. Does it have a gun? I can't remember if that has a gun or not. I can't click on it now to see. That's the AA jet. I would like to see another MiG-21. Oh, Eagle is down. Got hit by the book in the center. Finished it off. Other Eagle is in, going after that MiG-23. Needs to be careful. Is it one book or two in the middle there? One book, I think. Direct hit. Second hit. Wow. That book was not missing. What is the accuracy on that now? 65%. And it's fully ranked up. It is elite after getting a kill. Ouch. So very, very accurate book. Accurate being called in at veteran as well, so it's got the 2 pips on it, the one that's just been called in. I assume the one in the middle originally had that as well. CRPR now holding that defensive line, just under 30 minutes left to go in this game. I really need to have a mess around with the camera settings. I believe there is now a war game setting, which I haven't changed it to. I do need to have a play around with the new camera settings to see if I prefer them. This one does sort of grip and run on a rail sometimes, like when I try and zoom in on stuff like that, and it's not great on video. It makes people dizzy, and it makes me feel weird, to be honest, when it does it so rapidly sometimes. But obviously, you know, CRPR doesn't have anything around the back. This is purely all controlled by Phoenix now. But CRPR is forming a reasonable defensive line here, is trying to push up now with these airborne. I do feel that he's left it, unfortunately, a little bit late because the Motsuchin have now arrived. And that just means that there is more firepower there. They obviously have the machine guns as well, rather than just those SMGs. But more airborne is arriving. There is a Humvee tow here. That's very risky pushing that up. I assume he wanted to try and go for the UAZ command with it, but that's going to take fire very quickly from anti-tank. Airborne pushing up rapidly here. Obviously, the most ideal situation sort of to be in close quarters with all of these units. I believe the airborne will get overwhelmed. Airborne coming in here to engage these ones, or are they firing across to the centre perhaps? Those airborne though getting shot at by 4 squads of infantry, including the ones that they're in close quarters combat with. Military police obviously coming in to assist versus these VPBs. But the airborne are about to be dead. The VPBs still hanging on their 2 units left, and of these other squads, the Motsuchin are still full health. An attempted little push in the middle here by CRPR as well while we were looking at the bottom. He has moved some of his infantry up, I believe, that were back here, but there is just a huge wall of red there, and good use of the Malika artillery at the back there, dropping in on top of them. Phoenix not carrying too much if he does a bit of damage to his own infantry here. Obviously these KDA Suchin are very large squads, 14 member squads, absolutely huge for WARNO. You'll remember how good the 15-man squads are in Wargame Red Dragon. Another loss of a jet there for CRPR. Those Bucks just mincing everything now. Really impressed with the Bucks, actually. Need to make sure they're in my decks. Obviously, there's been quite a lot of changes over the months on the anti-air. So it's nice to see that they are more useful against some of these aircraft, but you've got to have the right anti-air to be good against all of these cheap, spammable aircraft. Because once they come in en masse, you're sort of struggling to know what to target. It's interesting, over the course of these 2 games, we've seen 2 very different strategies from Phoenix. The first game obviously was a heavy push with those AMX-10s and recon infantry, with a couple of aircraft brought in to deal with any choppers. And then this second game we've seen a completely different tactic, which has been a lot of cheap bombers, some recon helicopters, and just a mass spam of very cheap infantry to push the bottom point there. And at that time completely ignoring Bravo, other than bombing all of the forward troops of poor CRPR. It was extremely effective. Extremely effective. But this is one of the issues, is getting the balance for air power right. Should it be able to do that at the start of a game, annihilate the entire forward enemy force? It's a big debate. It is a tactic you can use. It is used in warfare. It's whether, game balance dictates that should be different. But obviously this game, closer in terms of kills and losses. CRPR getting a lot more kills there than he did in the previous game. But still Phoenix ahead with 3,600. But good games, guys. Very interesting tactics there from Phoenix. Some takeaways from CRPR to see how Phoenix managed to pull that off. I think the second game there, it would have been very difficult for anyone to defend against that. That was a very interesting tactic, bringing out all those bombers at the start. But well played, guys. Really enjoyed those games and seeing something a little bit different in terms of the tactics used. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please do like, share, subscribe. There will be more WARNO coming. Obviously, this week we'll be doing some Gamma as well, because I know that people are very keen for that at the moment. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all soon.